Okay, so we obviously had a recent Nintendo Direct. So if you're watching this video, I doubt you haven't already known this. So let's not waste any time and get straight into what I think about their announcements. First off, let's really talk about Pokken getting some DLC in the form of Aegislash and Blastoise becoming new fighters in the game. We also got 4 new support Pokemon. I'm happy to see Pokken still getting support, but I will admit it's a bit weird to see a deluxe edition getting some DLC. I'm happy to see it, but it's not exactly the biggest news for me. Kirby Star Allies continues to look like a ton of fun to play, and I'm really still excited for it. There wasn't really all that much new they showed. I mean, there probably was, to be fair, but it's something I haven't noticed. But that's something Game Explain is for.
To power up the old analysis machine.
So it's time to board the friend train that is the old analysis machine.
So it's time to boot up the old analysis machine.
So I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see it's coming out March 16th, which isn't far at all. So I'm seriously looking forward to that game. They also showed off a bit of Hyrule Warriors, which was a game, to be honest, I never really thought would be coming to the Switch in any way. It's my second most played game on the Wii U, so I'm not entirely sure about supporting this one. I loved it, but the fact that I had played both the Wii U version and the 3DS version means I'd be buying it for the Switch and for a third time, basically, and that just seems like buying the same game too many times. But it is pretty cool. I didn't exactly do all the DLC either in the game, so I don't know, maybe I'll pick it up. Now, talking about Mario Tennis Aces, it's an interesting one for me. I'm never really bothered playing any of the Mario sports games. I didn't really like sports in general at all. So I guess I kind of assumed that I wouldn't like these Mario versions of it either. Although I admit that doesn't really make total sense considering I like Mario Kart, but I usually don't like racing games. So maybe I'd enjoy them. Not sure. However, after seeing Mario Tennis Ultra Smash on Wii U, it's kind of obvious to me that there was some effort put behind Aces, with a full story mode involved with it, and it looks like they have boss fights and all these kind of things. So, it looks like a full game this time, so let's just pretend Ultra Smash didn't exist. I've never really played a East game, so I'm not really familiar with it in any way, but I have heard of it before. It looks like a pretty cool game, but I'm not too sure about it. But I honestly don't have much to say about it. Maybe I'll pick it up if I get the chance. It does look kind of cool, though. That little balloon game in Mario Odyssey, though, it's cool, I guess, but to be honest with you guys, I honestly don't really care about this. I see myself trying it out maybe once or twice and never again. SNK Heroines, whatever, is another game that they had that I don't really care for at all either. I mean, it's probably going to be a good game, but I'm not too familiar with SNK all that much, and I don't really have much interest in it, so that's kind of it. Sorry. But we're also going to get some story DLC with Donkey Kong getting added to Mario+Rabbids. And that's cool, and the trailer was pretty funny, but I also have to admit that while I did enjoy the game, I'm not too interested in buying the DLC. Unless they show something that really impresses me, I just doubt I'm going to be buying it. It just seems that I'd be paying for the season pass just for this new story, and that's all. And I understand there was other things in it, but I'm definitely not interested in a challenge mode. Those kind of DLCs never really appealed to me. I think I just wanted more from the season pass is all. Payday 2 for Switch, I don't care. Console versions of Payday 2 are gimped to hell. I'm not going to support this. The indie games Celeste and Faye looked cool though. May try them. I'm a little more interested in Faye, but that EA stamp scares me. Now, moving on, this may surprise you guys considering how beloved this game was, but I actually never played Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Sadly, I missed the game the first time around. I just couldn't afford it at the time, and it came out at a bad time for myself. So this is finally the chance I can finally get to play it, basically. So I'm really excited for that. It'll be new to me, and the new funky mode is just an easy mode. So when it comes to that, I won't really be using it. Finally, the 2 biggest announcements of this direct, in my opinion, right? First off, The World Ends With You Final Remix, which from what it looks like is a port with new content, or maybe a remake, a remaster. I'm not entirely sure. Final Remix gives me the impression that it's a remaster, but I'm not sure. This is another game I've never played, but only heard great things about it, so I'm hyped as shit for it. Especially since this seemingly came out of nowhere. I'm, like, really confused as to why or where, like, the idea came from. But I don't really care, to be honest with you guys. I'm just excited to see what makes this game so great to begin with. I've heard so many good things about it. But easily, the biggest and most exciting announcement for myself has to be Dark Souls Remastered. The first Dark Souls game is a phenomenal RPG, and with the other two Dark Souls games being available on the other consoles, I was hoping the first game would get a remaster at some point, as it's my favorite in the franchise. I noticed that many Nintendo fans didn't seem to really care all that much, and didn't consider it a big announcement in any way. It's a huge sign of third parties on Switch. First off, it's not just a port, it's a remaster, which, again, I can understand the argument of remasters not exactly being the same as remakes, and that's fair. But the way I look at it, there are ports, then there are remasters, then there are remakes. A port is just a straight port of a game with nothing added, no real, basically nothing added to the game in any way. Remasters will add some things, they will basically up the resolution, maybe the frame rate, and that's basically it. Remakes is remaking the entire game from the ground up, right? So, the way I look at it, this is new, in a sense. So, it's going to be tweaking multiplayer, for example. Calling Dark Souls Remastered just a port, in my opinion, would be similar as to calling Wind Waker HD a port when it's a remaster. I mean, yeah, I agree, it's not exactly a brand new game, but a remaster has some work done. And not to mention, it's also a third-party game that is also being released on Switch and other platforms at the same time, unlike some games where we are just getting actual ports that the Xbox or PS4 already have. Take a look at Skyrim, for example. While Skyrim Remastered was released on the Xbox One and the PS4 previously, we got it sometime later, basically because, you know, Skyrim Remastered, when it originally released, the Switch didn't exist yet. That would be an example of us just getting a port. But in the example of Dark Souls Remastered and also LA Noire being remastered, I would consider those to be games that came out at the exact same time as the other consoles, because while there is the original Dark Souls and the original LA Noire, that's not what we're getting. We didn't get the original games, we got the remasters, if that makes sense. So, I guess you could technically say it is the same game, and therefore this argument doesn't matter, but the way I personally look at it, I see it as basically the new game, essentially, or somewhat of a new game, if that makes sense. It's also a third-party game that was first announced on Nintendo's platform. And with From Software being the same company that laughed at the idea of bringing Dark Souls to Wii U, putting this remaster on Switch shows how third-party support has improved, or at the very least changed. It's a fantastic game that Nintendo-only fans shouldn't really pass off as just another port coming to the system. It's one of the best RPGs of the past generation, and this is a great opportunity to jump in. So if you haven't played this already due to only playing on Nintendo platforms, do yourself a favor and play Dark Souls. Don't be afraid by the whole difficulty thing. The game is difficult, but it's not difficult to the extent that it is impossible. If you've played other difficult games before, you'll handle Dark Souls just fine. It's more of a memorization thing of how bosses and enemies move than anything else. Altogether, I think the Direct actually got me pretty excited due to these two games. I understand that it might not have gotten you excited due to the argument that this was mostly old games. And hey, you know, that's fair criticism. But if the rumors are true, there might be a full-size Direct at some point, and maybe we'll get a lot more new stuff in that one. Tell me what you guys thought about this Direct. Do all the things YouTube loves, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Later.